that state of consciousness, you have zero bodily conception of life. And the bodily conception of life is the cause of our suffering. Because this body, and when I was 15, I realized, oh my God, my body's going to die. I thought I was going to die because I didn't have knowledge. But the body's going to die. And it's, you know, we're like jumped out of an airplane and, you know, we're going to go splat kind of feeling. So we want to get a parachute. So knowledge is like the ultimate parachute. And so you don't have to, so you realize actually that you never get harmed, you never die. When you attain that pure state of consciousness, pure love of God, you don't feel pain because you don't identify with the body. There's no more suffering. There's just ever increasingly blissful existence. And that's the pure state. That's what all the living entities in the spiritual world constantly experience, where every word's a song, every step's a dance. There's no jobs. What did Lord Chaitanya do? They just chanted and danced just like y'all were doing. Yeah. And nice feast we get in a little bit. So now I just want to tell a little story giving the efficacy of the Vedas. So there's a person who was raised from birth in this kind of thing, but he fell astray. And at the time of his death, he named his son, though, Narayan, which is another name for Krishna, another name for God. And at the time of death, he, went quite astray. So at the time of death, we go quite astray. We have these characters that take the person to the person who decides where he goes. And usually people go way astray and they don't rectify their situation. They have to go to not fun places. So these characters came and trying to snatch, his name's Ajamil, from his body. And he experiences an incredible fear. And from this fear, you realize he's about to die, and he sees these people. Actually, nurses describe that people talk about these creatures often. And so he calls out of fear, his son, which is named Narayan. Narayan. He wasn't calling out God, but the name of God is God. So what happens when a person takes shelter of God, although he was thinking of his son, the Vishnu Dutas come, and the Vishnu Dutas help you advance spiritually and protect you. So now Ajamil's about to die, and the Yamadutas are very gruesome looking characters trying to snatch his soul from his body. And the Vishnu Dutas, who are like so divinely awesome beings, have their swords and going, nope, we're going to cut. They got nooses around Ajamil, trying to pull on. He cuts the cord, something of this nature. And Yamadutas are going, what the heck are you doing? This person did a lot of wrong things. And the Vishnudutas, I don't understand what's going on here, because it sounds like you guys don't know what's up. You don't have a good knowledge. So please tell me, where do you get all your knowledge? And so they give him an answer, because they're guided by the Yamadutas are guided by a great devotee of the Lord. That's his job to assess people's situation, take them wherever. And so these Yamadutas work for him. So they said, Yamaduta Uchu, the Yamadutas replied. This is a quote from another text. And it states that the Vedas, religious principles are enacted within the Vedas. From the Vedas, we understand what religious principles are, or dharma. You might have heard that word, or functions. How do we function? Religious principles, dharma, and that is what religion, relinking with God, is. And the opposite of that is irreligion. So if we don't follow the Vedas, it's irreligion. And then he goes on to say, the Vedas are non-different from God, from Krishna. So, and they are self-born. In other words, no person came along and went, okay, let's write down the Vedas. They're self-born. They're ever existing in our heart. Knowledge is ever existing in the heart. And they're non-different from God. So that knowledge, not academic knowledge, but that knowledge we need, that knowledge is the highest achievement in life. Because with that knowledge, we can understand the difference between who we are and material nature and understand who's controlling both. So in other words, we can extricate ourselves from this material dimension and return back to the spiritual dimension, which is the purpose of human life. So, on that note, we'll go into knowledge a little bit more, if that's okay. Anybody have any quick questions right now, though? Maybe some of the guests. So, how do we get this knowledge? And you might think, okay, knowledge is, the Vedas are perfect. That's what you're saying. Written by Vyasadeva, who doesn't have the defects that we have. We make mistakes. We tend to be illusioned. So Vyasadeva is an avatar. And Lord Chaitanya said that he's God. The Supreme Personality of Godhead wrote the Vedas or compiled the Vedas. So, and he also gives us his instruction, like what do we do? Well, I'll first describe what is the sambandha, the relationships, that we are spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead from which everything emanates. And our function is this dharma, our eternal function. It's like the eternal function of fire is to give off heat and light. The eternal function of the soul that we are is to serve the big soul, people call God. So, and what is then material nature? Material nature is a separated energy of God, an illusory energy that he creates by his mystical powers to control the rebellious soul that doesn't want to serve Krishna. So, knowing that, we can then, it's a big book. It's only 700 verses-ish, so you have it's not that much. But by reading it, we go through all the different psychic steps to fully understand and to realize, not just, okay, that's what the book says, but to actually realize that we are spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna and an eternal servant of Krishna. So then, understanding that and then acting upon that, engaging in the Lord's service, Krishna then reciprocates with us he himself reciprocates with us instead of his external illusory energy reciprocating with us. Like an atom bomb coming your way, or a disease, or these kind of things that bind the soul to this material dimension. Instead, we can engage in the Lord's service and experience. Krishna reveals himself, literally reveals himself. His name, his form. It's kind of like, hey, my name's Krishna. I'm from this family background. My dad's name is this and that, or whatever. He doesn't have him. He's spiritual, but in the spiritual world, he's got close friends and family and everything. So he starts revealing things, his pastimes. He might show you when he was chastised by his mother because he was stealing butter or whatever, things of this nature. So, and he's a person, and getting to know Krishna liberates us from this material world. And to know him is to love him. You might have heard that. Really, you get to know Krishna. Love of God, love for him is awakened in the heart. You just have to love him. He's lovable. He's the only person that is deserving of our love. Actually, love means in Sanskrit, prema means loving God alone. So loving Krishna is the proper use of that energy. Loving material nature is like loving an external separated energy of Krishna. It's like why not, instead of loving a branch or a leaf, if you love the whole tree, then you automatically love the branch and the leaf. So it's it's the proper use of that energy of love. And then you never disappointed. I mean, I think I was engaged once and, I got disappointed from this or that. That thing broke, that relationship broke up. And so many things really always can be often disappointed, frustrated, but never with Krishna, because he's perfect. He's a perfect person. So I'm just going to speak about a few things. I'm just going to read a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita, if that's okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I had a question about this love point, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard from a spiritual master that we have to be careful where we invest our love. It's kind of it's like an investment of focus and energy and attention. And as you're saying, ultimately, what you're making the case for is ultimately it should be invested to Krishna. But something that I'm I guess, struggling with is this idea of, or this this endeavor to invest our love in Krishna versus investing our love in other people, which may not be connected with Krishna, meaning, like, it appears that it's more accessible to love or to invest our love in this world. Like, if I want to show my love to Gio as a good friend and everything, then I'll give him some gifts and I'll give him a high five. We'll hug. We'll be like on a mission together, and it's like it feels very tangible, very real. Whereas if I'm investing my love to Krishna, I'm not necessarily seeing him, or I may hear about him, about what he looks like and about what he says in Bhagavad Gita and all that, but I'm having a hard time like experiencing the reciprocation of the investing that love. And I'm just wondering how I can understand that. Investing is it like a long-term investment? Because I can get a hug from Gio now and I know he's happy and everything, but I may not necessarily be aware when Krishna is expressing his love to me or reciprocating with me. Is there a question there?
Yeah.
Okay. So
my thoughts are honestly,
I was thinking,
it's kind of like the ant that fell in the bucket of sweet rice. You go and live there for quite some time. You go, I don't know. A piece of apple comes around, it's like, wow, yeah, it's kind of sweet and stuff, but it's constantly drinking the most nectarian sweet rice, this incredible drink, and has forgotten that that's what he's doing. Just to be honest with you, is my thoughts regarding you personally about this subject, because Krishna's constantly reciprocating with you, engaged 24/7 in devotional service. If you take a step out of that for a little while, which I don't encourage you to do, but if you were to do that, you would then realize that, wow, Krishna was like, if that ant gets out of the sweet rice and just has to cruise around the desert to try to find anything, he's going to realize that sweet rice was awesome. So that's my thoughts regarding that. My personal experience is Krishna reciprocates instantaneously. He wants us to have a relationship with us more than we want to have a relationship with us, more than definitely Jiva wants to have a relationship with us. No offense, you're a great soul, but you probably don't want to have a relationship with me as much as Krishna wants to have a relationship with me. And reciprocating back to you, no offense. You're wonderful souls, and I like good relationships, but that's just reality. And Krishna is Chaitanas Chaitananam. He's able to reciprocate with everybody perfectly all the time. If both Jiva and I start talking to you and we both want your attention, you can only give so much to each person. But Krishna can perfectly reciprocate with every living entity perfectly, simultaneously. So I think Krishna is reciprocating with you all the time. And if you want to feel that he's always reciprocating with us, either externally or internally. When we engage in Krishna's service, he internally reciprocates with us. And when we don't want to serve him, he externally reciprocates with us. So there's always, Prabhupada made the comment that you want to see Krishna, everybody's always seeing Krishna, just in different forms. But to see the person, Krishna, as we see the picture here of Krishna, there is a statement, I don't think this applies to you, but Prabhupada does state that Krishna will reciprocate with that individual if that person has the mood of forevermore, Krishna, I will just purely serve you forevermore. I'm never going to budge away from that. At that point, Krishna reciprocates on a higher level. He actually personally gets personal and very personal with that person. Yes.
So you keep saying the word filling right now. How does what?
I missed the first sentence.
Okay, so you keep saying the word feeling right now. So, and then before that you were mentioning knowledge. So how does the knowledge go and turn to feeling? Or like how do those seem like two, yeah.
Well, love is dormant in the hearts of most. It's there, it's already in the heart, but it's dormant. Just like the Vedas state that this is fire. There's fire in this wood. It's wood, but there's fire in it. Right now it says it. It's dormant. If you do a certain thing, a little match there, there'll be the catalyst to make, you'll see that, wow, there is fire in the wood. It's a kind of unique way of thinking. So, with knowledge, is like the catalyst to give us the understanding as to how to awaken that dormant love of God. So, in fact, that was just what I was about to read, so I might as well do that. I'm going to read just the purports here. I mean, the translations. So, the supreme science, the knowledge passed down perfectly intact. The supreme science, Krishna calls it the supreme science, knowledge, was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. The saintly kings understood it in this way, but in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So this was 5,000 years ago. Now Krishna is speaking it again to Arjuna. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Therefore, you can understand the transcendental mystery of the science. So there's some characteristics needed to have this soul awakened dormant love of God. Here's two things: being a devotee of Krishna and his friend. Arjuna said, "The sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him?" The blessed Lord said, "Many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of enemies of the enemy. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descent in a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I invent myself at millennium after millennium. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities is not upon leaving the body take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So factually knowing Krishna liberates the soul. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So that help? Maybe I should read part of the purport. As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep this same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. For such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material, and it goes into further from there. I'm just going to keep reading the translations. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, says Son of Prita. So if we really give our whole heart to Krishna, he fully reciprocates with it. And if we just, give a little bit, he gives a little bit. So, men in this world desire success and fruit of activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruit of work in this world. That process is not recommended. Before further reading, according to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created. I want to get to one other thing. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruit of reactions of work. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding and so attained liberation. Therefore, as the ancients, you should perform your duty in this divine consciousness. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. No, now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all sins. So, and then Krishna goes into, gives us some understanding. So I do recommend everybody read this Bhagavad Gita in a huge way. We can provide you a copy if you'd like to take home and study it. That would be you'd probably say it was the best use of your energy ever in your life. The highest achievement in life, this literally is. You can't get anything better. And this is pure. You're not getting this is not written by this is a Supreme Being's own statements and written by him as well. Not to some, an unintelligent person that just doesn't really get it, can't understand much, but to Arjuna, who was the most intelligent person back then, when everybody was smarter back then than they are now. And so I did want to just verify the importance of this knowledge. So here Krishna is saying, with this knowledge, and when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are mine, and that they are in me and are mine. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who achieves this enjoys the self within himself in due course of time. A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. I'll stop there. But the highest achievement in life. So much energy we put forward in so many different things. First and foremost should be the highest achievement in life. And then reading this front to back, wow, you can chalk out a plan for your life to attain the goal of life. Not just blind believing, but it explains to where you really understand. Yeah, where you get it. And there's nothing higher to where you go, well, everything's covered. I'll stop here. I don't know what time it is. I got to stop here. Yeah. 15 more. Thank you.
Can I make a comment about some point you made?
Yes.
you're making the point about the Bhagavad Gita, the scene of it, or the context of it, how Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, very highly civilized, educated person. And I've heard this point before, and thinking about it more now, it's a very special context of a conversation with, or hearing from Krishna or God, because he's speaking to a greatly realized person. And if you look at Arjuna historically, then you can see that he was born in a royal family. He was highly educated. He was the greatest warrior of that time. And he was also, among his qualities of just character, was saintly and very good and pious. So, and then you have Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you could at least assume, if you haven't read, you could assume that these two characters or persons, you could assume that what they're going to speak about is actually very highly qualified knowledge, or important knowledge, especially if they're speaking about life subjects. Like Arjuna's having a hard time because he has to face this greatest difficulty of his life, and now he's wondering like how to do it, and he's bringing up arguments about afterlife and who I am and my nature. And so when you have two people speaking that are highly qualified, then the knowledge is also highly qualified. And I was just thinking about how people pay to go listen to two highly qualified persons in today's world, and a certain knowledge, like they have a certain knowledge background, PhD maybe, and quantum physics, and they have some other person who's a great or like a celebrity, and people will pay like just to go hear them speak because the qualifications of the persons, and they understand that, okay, something that these people have to speak is going to be beneficial for me to hear. And so they're willing to pay and spend their time to go hear. Versus we don't really see people who are endeavoring for some higher understanding to pay to go hear somebody who's just like a lay person, just some working class person. They're going to speak about the purpose of life. Then you have two people that are, just like minimum wage construction workers or something speaking. And objectively, like the language is also very different. The vocabulary, the education, on the base. I'm just speaking. Of course, there might be someone who's highly realized in that area or highly realized being who's just a very simple person. But I'm just making the point that from highly qualified people, realized people, then great knowledge has the opportunity to manifest, and especially with this context of Bhagavad Gita. And then when you think about other religious texts too, or philosophies or spiritual practices, and maybe hearing conversations of other people, like one common example is Jesus Christ, how he was telling people not to do certain things, which from our moral standard today, that's commonly accepted. It's like, yeah, why would you, that's common knowledge. Like you just don't do that. Like steal from your neighbor or whatever. Or what is like a commandment? Like,
Well, that's one.
that's one? Yeah, so like don't steal from your neighbor. So that's for any like rational person today. It's like, yeah, that's not something you would do. It doesn't really need to be like expressed upon, but because of the context of the people he was sharing this knowledge with, then he has to express that to them because they are doing that, or that is a behavioral norm, or it could be a behavioral norm. So that was kind of long-winded, but I was just bringing up some more thoughts on the importance of this conversation and from like different points of view perspective. So thank you.
Y'all don't realize that Jesus is going to stand at the door and won't let you leave unless you give $150.
What was that?
I'm just kidding. You were saying about people get paid.
Oh, yeah.
Total joke. Sorry. Go ahead.
So this is actually my first time here. I'm not exactly sure what to say, but I think that it takes certain spiritual awareness to want to seek more knowledge than, say, going out to the internet and reading an article. You can get knowledge that way, but that's not really, to me, fulfilling knowledge. I think it takes a special kind of person to be able to come to a temple, to be able to pray, to seek spiritual knowledge. I think there's a difference between knowledge and spiritual knowledge, and it's really just ascending to that higher level of being like, there's more out there. And I also had another thought of what you were saying of what Krishna gives back to you. I think entirety, that's what faith is believing in something that's not there. You can't see it. It's not something physically.
Specifically, the Hare Krishna mantra is stressed as the most effective means. And because God incarnates in his name, he is his name. He's also in every atom. He's in our hearts. So he's always. Here are psychic twitches. Whatever we think, he knows. So when we engage in Krishna service, specifically the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the highest service to Krishna, as given by Krishna himself for today's age, and as Lord Chaitanya. So if we want, anytime we want to please Krishna, rather than manufacturing something, just take the prescription as given by Krishna, give it a try, and you immediately feel reciprocation. And there's more specifics that I could go into, or Dale can go into later, or whatever, as to how to best do that. One of them is Lord Chaitanya only wrote 8 verses. So God writing 8 verses only. One of the verses is, one should consider oneself lower than the blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, willing to offer all respect to others, not expect anything respect for herself. In this way, one can chant the Hare Krishna mantra easily and always and easily. There we go. So wearing that verse around the neck is recommended to remember. So if I'm not feeling it, what does that verse say again? Or I'm having trouble chanting, what is that verse again? And they all can share it with you. I have to go, but yeah, they can answer further questions and stuff. I don't want to go over time. You have a nice schedule, you get to do more chanting. Chanting is most blissful. So this is the highest service to Krishna you could perform, is chanting his name. Different names for God. Any last quick somethings? Yes.
The idea that Krishna is in everything, it makes me want to trust everything and everyone. And where do we discern judgment on what is good and what is bad, and where Krishna is present and where Krishna may or may not be present?
Right. So Krishna, in a sense, is this table, but also in a sense, he's not this table. So this is his external, the material dimension is his external mystical power, just like if you could create something with your mystical powers. Yogis can do this. I'm going to say I create another table. I'm not that table though, but by my energy, I created it. So that you could say this is Krishna's energy, but it's not him, in a sense. Does that make sense? And similarly, the souls that we are, individual always, are a different soul than Krishna. Yet at the same time, we're part and parcel of Krishna. So I remember making the mistake when I was serving Krishna in the temple for the first time. I had this phenomenal realization that blew my mind. And I went to go hug Krishna. Then he disappeared or whatever. And I hugged just whoever was around. The guy's going, yeah. I just had to, I was trying to hug Krishna. It was kind of an embarrassing situation, but that love was awakened in my heart. I just, wow, but that person's not going to reciprocate with me the same way Krishna is. In fact, that person had some perverted ideas actually, and it was not good for me to associate with that person because he wanted to exploit my body. So, but Krishna won't do that to you. So be careful. Recommend reading the Bhagavad Gita. It gives a structure of Dharma, where a function is most optimal way to operate, and what everything is. And it's, without reading it, we can miss it. We can think that we are material nature, or we can think, I am God, or so many misunderstandings can be there. And it's very delineated very nicely. It's a long subject, but I think that's all we have time for now. And feel free to inquire further. It's a great question. Awesome question. All right. Thank you all for being here. It's so wonderful to take your time out. And just being here and hearing Bhagavad Gita or sharing the Bhagavad Gita with others, that is service to Krishna also. So many benefits, eternal benefits to engaging in Krishna service. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Paramesvara. We're very grateful to have you visiting for a few days. Hopefully we'll see you back soon. So now we're going to have an arti, which is another kirtan and dance session too. So if you're feeling like you want to move around, we're going to move the room over here and sing a song. It's in this songbook Gio's handing out. It's on what page? Page 29. If you'd like to just know what the words are, and it's in Bengali, so it's a different language, of course. So, and then afterwards, we're going to have the amazing special dinner that we prepared. So please stay.
Tika Shobha Jana Vitatavane Jagamana Loba Dakine Nitai Chan Pamegadadhara Mikate Advaita Shridi Vasachakradara Boshi Yachigorachan Ratna Simhasane Arati Koden Brahma Adi Devagani Nara Hari Hari Kori Shamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Goshadigaya Shankar Vaje Gandha Vaje Vaje Karatala Madhura Mridanga Vaje Paramarasala Shankar Vaje Gandha Vaje Madhur 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 Vaje Shankar Vaje Gandha Vaje Madhur 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 Vaje Vahu Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Parashata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paramahamsa Victoria Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Navadvitam Ki Jai. Uttardam Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
What page is the Nrsimhadev one? One more song on page 12. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dayane. Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha. Shila Tantana Kadane. Yito Nishingha Parato Nishingho. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha. Mahir Nishingo, Viraye Nishingo. Narashinga Madhyam Sharanam Prapatye. Harim Sharanam Prapatye. Avakanda Kamala Vare Naka Matuta Shinga. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanavringa Keshavadrita Naramanirupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Sarvakamarabhare Ukashinga Ita Anukashiku Karviya Eshavadita Harayoka Hare Hare Vishare Hare Vishare. Nrsimhadev Ki Jai, Sala Maharaj Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Krishna, sorry. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Just some quick announcements, then we'll serve the dinner. So today is Sunday. It's getting a little colder. If everybody's staying warm, you have heaters in your house. We're entering the winter time. Actually, we're already there, right? But it's going to get colder, so please keep coming, even though it's cold. Especially when we're dancing, it's very warm in here. So it's good to stay warm like this. Next Saturday is the Advent of the Bhagavad Gita, which we had a class on tonight. It's the anniversary of when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken over 5,000 years ago. And so we will have some sort of little festival that day, Saturday, December 3rd. So actually I'll post that on our WhatsApp group we have and our Facebook page also, whatever the detail will be. We have to work that out. So if you'd like to participate, it's a nice day. You get some extra spiritual benefit from celebrating the advent of the Bhagavad Gita. So a very historical time. So if you would like, we post things on WhatsApp. If you don't have the app, it's like the most user-friendly messenger, Wi-Fi messenger. You can message people from all over the world. It's very easy, and it's nice for group text. So we have we post announcements on our WhatsApp group too, which is very easy way to do it. Better than email. So we don't have an email list right now. So that's all I have tonight. Actually, we're gonna have our dinner back there. You can get a plate, and then you can be served the prasadam, and we'll actually line up at the table, north to south. So the line will go this way, like this. And if we have more people occur, there's some seating on some tables you can sit, and there'll also be some seating on the floor too for the people that would like to sit on the floor. So thank you everybody for coming. Please come back anytime on every Sunday. We're having this festival every Sunday, even on Christmas. Hare Krishna. So please stand up and line up for the dinner. So for those who like